Well, we all need to cleanse. First of all, we were created to be self-cleansers. 100, 200 years ago, even 5,000 years ago, cultures, they did routinely cleanse. But it's even more important, much more important today than it was back then because of all the toxins that we encounter in our world today. I'm sure, all the groups that I speak to, and I speak to a lot of groups frequently, and I ask them two questions. I said, raise your hand if you agree with me that there's more toxins in the air, the food, the water, the things we put on our skin today than there was 50, 60, or 100 years ago. Everyone raises their hand and agrees with me that today there are more toxins all around us in our environment than there were 100 years ago. And the other question I ask is, raise your hand if you agree with me that our food supply today is more nutritionally bankrupt than it was 50, 60, or 100 years ago. And once again, everyone raises their hand and agrees with me that our food supply is worse today than it was 100 years ago. So what happens is when we have all these toxins, our main filters like our liver and our kidneys, our intestines, they get clogged up and our bodies can't work right. What happens when your vacuum cleaner bag is clogged or filled with dust? What happens when your bag needs to be emptied for the vacuum cleaner? It doesn't work right. What happens if you don't change the oil filter in your car? What happens if you don't change the air cleaners or the air filters in your furnace? Things just don't work right. So your body starts to break down. It doesn't work the way it should. And all of a sudden, you're 40 or 50 years old and you say, gee, I just don't feel like I did 20 years ago. I don't have the energy that I had. I'm sluggish. I hear it every day in the office. And the other side of the coin is if you're not replenishing your body with good vital nutrients, with the minerals and the vitamins and amino acids and so forth, your body just can't function the way it should. It takes 90 nutrients to make a healthy cell. All 90 are in the Isagenix technology, the Isagenix system. There's actually 242 nutrients in the Isagenix system. So, you can ensure that you're getting all the right raw materials and building blocks that you need to make a healthy cell. So that's just on the surface. Let's get a little deeper here. When we talk about the top 3 killers in the U.S., we're talking about heart disease, strokes, cancer. And let's talk about the number 6 killer, type 2 diabetes, which is rapidly climbing the ladder, and it's going to be the number 1 killer soon. In fact, 1 in 3 babies are born now. Starting in 2000, 1 in 3 babies born in 2000 are going to end up with adult onset diabetes. And by the way, they used to call it adult onset diabetes because that's who got it, adults. Now we call it type 2 diabetes because 4% of our adolescents are getting it. Since 1980, childhood obesity has tripled, and it's doubled for adults since 1980. By the year 2040, if we keep going on the rate that we're going, 100% of all Americans will be overweight. Right now, we're sitting at 82% of the population in the U.S. is overweight, 31% are clinically obese. So we've got some major problems here. With 25 million type 2 diabetics and about 75 million pre-type 2s. Pre-type 2 diabetics, in 2 to 5 years, they'll be full-blown type 2 diabetics. And what happens when you have type 2 diabetes? You end up with getting your lower limbs. You can end up getting your lower limbs chopped off. You can end up with heart disease and have to have open heart surgery. A lot of people go blind because of diabetes. A lot of them end up on dialysis because of end-stage renal failure. And all those things, Tom, they all cost money. Now, is our economy healthy or is it sick? I mean, it's just as sick, if not sicker, than we are. And our system is not going to be able to sustain that type of a strain when we go from 25 million to 75 million type 2 diabetics. So that's just from the economic standpoint. But when you look at cancer rates, I think 1 in 36 in the 1950s, ladies got breast cancer. Now it's more like 1 in 8. 1 in 2 males will encounter some type of cancer throughout their lifetime, and it's 1 in 3 females. So we've got some serious health problems going on here, and we know through research and through studies that have been done that a lot of it's due to the toxins in our environment and our bankrupt food supply. I'll tell you another study that was done is very shocking, very scary, is they took a drop of blood from the umbilical cord of mothers with newborn babies. So this blood from these newborn babies had over 200 toxins in them. Around 287, I believe, was the exact number, the average, 287 toxins in every one of these specimens they tested. And over 180 of them were cancer-causing. So, you know, before you're even born, before you take a breath, before you drink any water, eat any food, you've got toxins. So the toxins are everywhere. We're not going to get away from them. So we need to have a technology that's going to help us rid our body of these toxins and then replenish our body with good, vital nutrition. So we've got many health challenges that are due to the increased toxicity and the poor nutrition.